Hi guys, and welcome to part 3 of your test review. So, in this question we are asked to use the discriminant to state the number of roots. So basically we're asking you, will it have 2 roots and cross at 2 places? Will it have 2 equal roots and cross there? Or will it have no roots and simply not cross? Now, what you've got to think about with the discriminant is this, the relationship between these two things. But on your quadratic formula, when you have this, if this is bigger than that, that's fine. You're going to get a positive number, and therefore you're going to have this situation. If this part is smaller, the b squared part is smaller than the 4ac, let's say for argument's sake 4 and that's 9, you're going to get this, and this cannot be done at this stage of our learning. So because it can't be done, it means it has no roots, and that's basically it. And if they were equal to each other, the b squared and the 4ac, it means you would have this example. So b squared and 4ac. So b squared is 1 squared, and 4 times 1 times 8, well that's 32. So you can see here 1 is less than 32, so b squared is less than 4ac. So this number here, change colour, this is less than that, and therefore exactly the same as this example here, it'd be a negative. We can't do that, so it's not going to cross the x-axis, and it's going to have no solutions. So there's no roots, no solutions. Okay, let's do the same here. So b squared, 4ac. So minus 5 squared is 25, and 4 times 2 times negative 6, well that's minus 48. So you can see here that 25 is more than that, and therefore we are going to have 2 different roots. Okay, so when it's equal roots, we love this type of question. So when it's equal, like I just said earlier, we're going to get this example. So there's 2 roots, but they're exactly the same. So that means that b squared is going to be equal to 4ac. So here we don't know what b is because it's k. So k squared, just substituting b for the k, is 4 times 2, which is a, and 8, which is c. So k squared is 64. So therefore k is plus or minus 8. So there you have it. So that's the answer, plus or minus 8. I should probably say at this point, because you're probably thinking, if there's 2 different numbers, why are they not 2 different roots? But if you were to put a positive 8 in here and then solve the equation, you will see you get, I think it's 2. I think it's 2. So it'd be that way. And if you put the minus 8 in there, you would get a graph. Oh, that's rubbish. And that would be minus 2. It's one of the way rounds. But if that's a plus 8, you get one type of graph. That was a negative 8, you get a different graph, but they would only have 1 point. And I'm sorry if that extra little bit confused you, but I think it's important to point out that they do only have 1 root for this. Okay, let's move on to this one. So this is the bit that's a little bit confusing. Just ignore it at this point and use the quadratic formula, which you should know is negative b plus or minus. If you don't know this, there's some really interesting YouTube videos to help you to remember it. So that's b, that's a, that's c. So negative b, that's 4, plus or minus the square root b squared, so 16, minus 4 times a, which is 4, so that's 16 times 1, so that's negative 16, because it's a negative 1, all over 8. Let's tidy this up. So it's 4 plus or minus the square root of 32, over 8. Now, please don't stop there, because this part, just change the colour, is not a surd. That is root 16 root 2, which is 4 root 2's. So we have 4 plus 4 root 2's over 8. Now that's your final answer. This is it in its exact and simplified form. But what you could do is this. You could say it's a half plus a half root 2 if you wanted to, but it's exactly the same, so there's no need. Okay, now again back to completing the square. So it doesn't say the words completing the square, but you should know when you see it like this, it means complete the square. So to do this, this bit's quite easy for a because there's no coefficient of x squared, so we're halving the coefficient of x. When you complete the square, you're going to get 16, so we have to take that away and just add on what we have at the start. So that's x plus 4 brackets minus 6. That seems incredibly easy for 3 marks, but that is it. Okay, let's move down. Okay, this question's really tough. I don't like looking at it like this, so I'm just going to rewrite it this way around. Now I haven't quite worked out my favourite way of doing this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the negative outside. So we have this, because I just don't like having the negative there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to complete the square on this bit and then just in the bracketed bit, and then just add this on at the end like I just did. So minus, because, sorry, I forgot that bit. Because we have a coefficient of x squared, we have to take that out. So that's exactly the same thing, just rewritten. And now we're going to complete the square. So we're going to half the coefficient of x. When we complete the square on this, we're going to have 3 halves times by 3 halves, which will be 9 quarters. But we have 2 of them, so don't forget that bit. Plus 15. So let's tidy this up. So we have 2 lots. Let's move it down a second. Oh, that's okay. 3 over 2 squared. And now it's multiplying fractions, so 2 is the same as that, times 9 over 4. That's going to be 18 quarters. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a look at this negative and just put it back in. So I'm going to just times everything by -1. So that every positive, like here, is going to change to a negative. So it's -2, lots of this. So this is a positive term, so it's changing. And this negative term, so minus and a minus, makes a plus. And just add that on now. So to combine these, what I'm going to do is say 15 with 4 as a denominator is 60 over 4. That's still 15. Oh. So instead of this, I'm going to use this now. So my final answer is x plus 3 over 2 squared. 18 plus 60 is 78 over 4. And that is also 19.5. So you could replace the 78 over 4 for 19.5, but that's your final answer. Okay, one more to go. So this does look pretty horrendous, but again, look, it's the completing the square. So that's all it's asking you to do. So just ignore everything else for the minute. Just, you see that, complete the square on it. So half the coefficient of x. When you complete the square, we get 9, so we take that away, and we add on what we had in the question. So x minus 3 squared plus 9, and that is actually all they're asking you to do for 3 marks. Now the next bit is worth 4 marks, and it relates to the a bit above, so I don't think most people realise that when they did the test. So here we have a function of x. That just means it's a graph. So this function of x, this graph, and there's the formula of the graph, and they're telling you that we're looking for the x values bigger than 0. So we're only looking at the x values from here to here. That's it. A and B are whole numbers. Here we go. There's A and there's B. They're whole numbers. So this curve, it meets the y-axis at point P, and it has a minimum point at, and I've accidentally cut something off there, but it's definitely Q because it says a Q down here. So I'm just going to move this up a tad so we can still see this answer from above. So if you didn't know this, this tells us our vertex, or our minimum point in this case. It can be our maximum point if the graph is reversed parabola. Now, if we just scoot back up a minute, here's the original function. So this constant term, you should know that that is the y-intercept. So that bit there is P, and that is 0, 18. Now, to sketch this, if you do your discriminant, actually you don't even need to do that because we know this is the lowest point. So the lowest point is going to be 3, 9. And 3, 9 is going to be roughly there. So if you wanted to, you could check using your discriminant, but you'll see that b squared will be less than 4ac, and therefore it will be a negative number if you were doing the the quadratic formula, and therefore it would not be able to solve. Therefore it would not cross this x-axis. But because I know the minimum point, this vertex, is at 3, 9, because of this, I don't even need to do that. So that's what we're looking for. So that is Q, and that is 3, 9. That's the end of your test, guys. If you got below 50%, you must watch this thoroughly because you've got a retake. If you didn't get 100%, still watch it and see where you went wrong.